Alex had never imagined that his journey to the distant planet Scifi would change his life forever. He had heard of its rich history and advanced culture, but he wasn't prepared for what awaited him. The Scifians were known across the galaxy for their wisdom and strength. Their queen Seraphina was rumored to be one of the most powerful beings in the known universe. But none of that mattered to Alex when he first landed. What mattered was that he had a mission. The ships. Landing gears groaned as they touched down on the alien soil. Alex, a human diplomat, was tasked with establishing peaceful relations with the Seraphians, who were rumored to be difficult to impress. He wasn't worried, though. After all, he was just a man with a beard he'd proudly grown over, the years thick and untamed, a symbol of his survival and his past struggles. Little did he know that this simple feature would make him the center of attention on a planet full of aliens. As he stepped off the ship, a group of Seraphian soldiers stood waiting for him. Their tall, slender bodies shimmered under the light. Their skin, a mix of silvery blue and gold. They moved with a grace that made Alex feel like an outsider. But he stood tall, his confidence shining through. He adjusted his jacket and straightened his posture, feeling the weight of the mission ahead. A silent air of respect settled over the gathering as Seraphina entered the room. She was everything Alex had imagined, a tall, regal woman with features that seemed almost otherworldly. Her eyes, large and dark, looked like they held the knowledge of the universe. Her long flowing hair shimmered as it caught the light, and her presence commanded the attention of everyone in the room. Alex had heard stories about her beauty and her strength, but he hadn't expected to be captivated by her the moment she entered. He couldn't help but notice how her eyes seemed to linger on him for a little longer than was necessary. And as she approached, he felt something strange in the Iran unspoken tension. "Welcome to Scifi," she said in a voice that was both soft and commanding. Her eyes briefly flickered to Alex's face, and then they froze. Alex had no idea what caused this reaction, but it was undeniable. Seraphina seemed speechless. She stopped a few steps away from him, her gaze fixed on something that made Alex uneasy. She looked at him like she had just seen something both puzzling and mesmerizing. He could see her eyes shifting from his face to his chest, and then back to his face again, as if trying to understand what she was seeing. Your beard," she whispered, more to herself than to him. Alex blinked, taken aback by her comment. Excuse me?" said confused. Seraphina quickly regained her composure, but her eyes still lingered on his face. "It's just ... It's unlike anything I've ever seen before," she said, still staring at the thick, dark beard that Alex had grown over the years. "What does it mean to you?" Alex scratched his beard, unsure of how to respond. "What's just a part of me? I've had it for years. It's not really a symbol of anything, just a personal choice." Seraphina was silent for a long moment, her eyes wide with wonder. "No," she said slowly, almost as if speaking to herself. "It is more than that. I can sense it. Your beard. It holds power. It radiates strength." Alex felt a surge of warmth flood his face, but he quickly shook it off. "I'm not sure I understand what you mean," he said, his voice wavering just a bit. Seraphina stepped closer to him, her expression still full of awe. "Our people do not grow facial hair. We do not need it, but to see such a thing on a human speaks of endurance, survival, speaks of wisdom." She paused for a moment, her voice quieting. "I think you may be someone very special." Alex stood there, unsure how to respond to this unexpected praise. His beard had always been a part of his identity, but he never imagined it could mean anything to anyone, let alone a queen from another world. He could tell that her admiration for him was growing, but it felt strange. He was just a regular guy from Earth, not some mythical figure from an ancient prophecy. The room was silent, the tension thick. Alex couldn't shake the feeling that he had somehow become the focus of something much bigger than himself. Seraphine's eyes never left him, as if she were searching for something deeper in him, something beyond his human appearance. "You are a curious human, Alex," she said finally, her voice steady but filled with wonder. "Your kind has always fascinated me, but I never imagined I would meet someone who carried such power. You will be someone to remember." Alex shifted his weight nervously. I'm just here to do a job, he said, his voice softer now. To make peace between our people. Serafina looked at him with a mix of admiration and respect. You may not realize it now, but your presence here could mean the beginning of something much greater than peace. I see you as a bridge between our worlds and your beard. It marks you as someone who stands apart from all others. For the first time, Alex truly understood that this meeting was unlike anything he had ever experienced. He had expected to be a diplomat, to negotiate terms and agreements, but he never imagined that his appearance, something so simple as his beard, would make him stand out in such a way. He smiled, though still feeling the weight of Seraphine's gaze. I'll do my best to help, Your Majesty, whatever it takes. Serafina finally smiled, a soft, almost secretive smile. I believe you will. I have faith in you, Alex. As they continued their conversation, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that this mission was far from ordinary. His journey to Seraphia had just begun, and already he could feel that his life and the future of both their worlds was about to change in ways he couldn't even begin to imagine. Alex's days on Seraphia passed in a blur of wonder and discovery. The planet was unlike anything he had ever seen. The landscape was filled with towering silver trees, their trunks glowing faintly in the dim light. The sky was always a soft shade of purple, with two moons hanging lazily overhead. The Seraphians, despite their alien appearance, had an air of calm wisdom about them, and their culture was deeply rooted in knowledge and strength. But through all of this, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that his mission was about to take a much more personal turn. Serafina, the queen of the Seraphians, seemed more fascinated by him with each passing day. At first, he thought it was because of his status as a human envoy, but now he suspected there was something more to it. She was captivated by his beard, and it was clear to him that it meant more to her than just a physical feature. Every time they spoke, she would glance at his beard with a sense of awe, as if it were a symbol of something far greater than just a man's appearance. She had mentioned the power it radiated, the strength it symbolized. Alex had brushed it off at first, thinking it was just an alien cultural quirk. But the more time he spent with her, the more he began to realize that his beard had become the center of something much larger than himself. One evening, after a long day of diplomatic talks, Serafina invited Alex to the royal gardens. It was a peaceful place, with soft, glowing flowers and a gentle breeze that carried the sweet scent of alien blossoms. They sat on a stone bench, and for the first time, the queen spoke to Alex not as a diplomat, but as someone who seemed genuinely intrigued by him. Alex, she said softly, her dark eyes meeting his, I must confess something to you. Alex turned to her puzzled. What is it? Serafina looked down at her hands, almost as if she were gathering the courage to speak. Your beard, ... It is not just a symbol of strength, is it? Alex chuckled nervously. I don't know. It's just a part of me. I've had it for years. Never thought much of it. Seraphine's eyes softened. To us, it speaks of something far greater than just a man's physical form. We believe that facial hair is a symbol of wisdom, of time and experience. But yours holds a different kind of power. Alex was taken aback. Ack! You're saying my beard is? Special Serafina nodded slowly. Yes, it is not just the length or thickness. It is the way it has grown, the way it reflects your life and your journey. In our culture, the longest beards are often those of our greatest leaders, the ones who have led with both wisdom and strength. Alex could feel his cheeks flush, but he tried to hide it with a shrug. I never thought of it that way. Serafina smiled softly, her gaze never leaving his face. Perhaps you do not see it, but we do. The way your beard grows. It is a sign. A sign that you are meant for something great. Alex shifted uncomfortably, unsure of how to respond. He was just a regular guy from Earth. He never thought of himself as a leader or someone special. But here was a queen, a ruler of an entire people, telling him that his appearance was a symbol of something extraordinary. It was all too much to process. I'm just here to help establish peace between our people, Alex said, trying to focus on the mission. I don't think I'm anything more than that. Seraphine's expression softened, and she reached out, her hand brushing lightly against his. You do not see it, but I do. You have more to offer than just diplomacy. Your people have strength that we too can learn from. You're kind, ... You are destined to lead. Alex was silent, unsure of what to make of her words. Was she speaking to him as a queen, or as something more? He wasn't sure, but he could feel the weight of her gaze, and it made him uneasy. He had never thought of himself as a leader, let alone someone whose appearance could inspire such admiration. Tell me, Alex, Serafina continued, what does your beard mean to you? I have seen it as a symbol of wisdom, strength, and resilience. But what does it represent in your world? Alex thought for a moment, his fingers brushing the edges of his beard. I suppose it's just a reminder of who I am. I've had it through all the hard times growing up, leaving Earth, and even through this mission. It's been with me. Through everything, Serafina nodded thoughtfully. It is a reflection of your journey, your survival. In that, you are more than just a man. You are a story in itself. For a long while, neither of them spoke. The air around them felt thick with something unspoken, a connection that neither could explain, but both could feel. Seraphine's admiration for him was clear, but Alex, despite his growing affection for her, still didn't understand why his beard had become such a central part of their relationship. Over the next few days, word of Alex's beard began to spread through the Seraphian court. The soldiers, the scholars, even the children all seemed to view him differently. Whispers followed him as he walked through the palace halls, and he often caught curious eyes staring at him, as if he were some kind of legend come to life. Serafina, for her part, had become more open with Alex. They shared many late-night conversations about their respective worlds, their cultures, and their hopes for the future. She spoke of the Seraphian people's struggle to maintain peace in a galaxy full of conflict. And Alex listened, offering what little advice he could. But it was always the same, whenever their conversations turned to his beard. Seraphine's eyes would light up with admiration. To her, it wasn't just facial hair. It was a symbol of something much more profound, something that connected him to the universe in a way that Alex could never fully understand. One evening, after a particularly long day of talks, Serafina took Alex aside. The legend of your beard is spreading, she said quietly, her voice almost a whisper. They are beginning to see you for what you truly are, not just a diplomat, not just a human, but someone who carries the weight of wisdom, strength, and power. Alex shook his head, laughing nervously. I didn't ask for all this. Serafina smiled. You do not need to ask. It is what you are meant to be. And in that moment, Alex realized that his life, the mission, and even his beard had become something far bigger than he could have ever imagined. His presence on Seraphia was no longer just about diplomacy, it was about something far more significant. Something that would change the future of both their worlds forever. As the days passed, Alex felt a growing sense of responsibility. What had begun as a diplomatic mission had transformed into something far greater. The Seraphian queen, Serafina, had taken a keen interest in him not just as a human envoy, but as something more. He had become a symbol, and it was becoming harder to ignore the growing expectations placed upon him. The people of Seraphia, once skeptical of humans, were now starting to see them in a new light. Alex's beard had become a legend of sorts, a symbol of strength, wisdom, and endurance. But what did it all mean? Alex couldn't quite understand why his beard was so important. To him it was just a part of who he was, a mark of time, a reminder of everything he had been through. But to the Seraphians, it was much more. Serafina seemed to believe that Alex's beard held the key to something much bigger than either of them could comprehend. She spoke of it often, calling it a mark of greatness. But it wasn't just her admiration that intrigued Alex. It was the way her people viewed him now. The respect he had gained from Serafina and her court was overwhelming. He was treated like royalty, invited to royal gatherings, and asked to share his wisdom with Seraphian scholars. Yet, despite all the attention, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something more was expected of him. And that something came when Serafina invited him to participate in the ancient Seraphian Trial of Strength. The trial was a tradition in Seraphian culture, held every year to honor the strongest warriors and leaders. It was a test of physical and mental endurance, where participants from different planets competed to prove their worth. The winners were seen as the true champions, symbols of strength and leadership. Serafina had invited Alex, not because he was a warrior, but because she believed that his strength lay in his mind and character, something his beard symbolized. Alex wasn't sure what to make of the invitation. He wasn't a fighter. He had never trained in combat. His strength came from surviving, from adapting to the tough situations life had thrown at him. But this was different. He was being asked to compete in front of the entire Seraphian court, to prove himself not only to Serafina, but to her people. I don't know if I'm the right person for this, Alex admitted to Serafina one evening, his voice filled with doubt. I've never fought anyone in my life. I'm just a diplomat. Serafina looked at him with a gentle smile. It's not about fighting, Alex. It's about proving your character, your wisdom, your strength of will. That is what your beard represents, and that is why you are here. Despite her reassurance, Alex still felt unsure. The Seraphian warriors were known for their speed, agility, and strength. They could run for miles, lift heavy weights, and endure extreme physical challenges. Alex, on the other hand, had never pushed himself to such limits. His strength was in his mind, in his ability to think on his feet, to survive in difficult situations. But could that be enough in a trial that was designed to test physical strength? The day of the trial arrived, and Alex found himself standing in a massive arena, surrounded by hundreds of Seraphian spectators. The ground beneath him was firm and smooth, the air thick with anticipation. Serafina stood beside him, her gaze full of encouragement. Remember, Alex, she said softly, this is not just a contest of strength, it is a contest of spirit. The trial began. Alex was faced with a series of physical challenges. First, he was asked to climb a massive tower of smooth stone. The other competitors scaled the tower with ease, their bodies moving like fluid, graceful creatures. Alex, however, struggled. His fingers ached, and his muscles burned with each pull. But he refused to give up, dug deep within himself, relying on his endurance rather than his physical strength. Slowly, painfully, he made his way to the top. The crowd cheered, not for his speed, but for his persistence. Alex's heart raced as he stood at the top of the tower, sweat dripping from his brow. He wasn't the fastest, but he had done it, and that was enough. Next, Alex was challenged to lift a massive weight, something that would be impossible for an ordinary human. The Seraphian warriors lifted it with ease, but Alex felt the weight press down on him as he tried to lift it. His arms trembled, but he didn't give in. With a grunt, he managed to lift the weight just a few inches off the ground before his strength failed him. But the crowd erupted into applause. They had not expected him to succeed, but they admired his effort. As the trial continued, Alex faced more and more difficult tasks, tests of endurance and battles of strategy. Each time, he was not the fastest or the strongest, but he was the most determined. He refused to quit, and that spirit of resilience earned him the respect of every Seraphian in the arena. By the time the trial came to an end, Alex had proved that his strength was not just in his body, but in his heart and mind. Serafina stood at the edge of the arena, her eyes filled with pride. When Alex finally stumbled across the finish line, barely able to stand, she rushed to his side. "You have done it," she said, her voice full of admiration. "You have proven yourself not with strength alone, but with your spirit." Alex looked at her, panting for breath. "I didn't win the trial. I was last." Serafina smiled. "It was never about winning, Alex. You have something far more important than mere physical strength. You have the strength of character, the will, to keep going when others would fall. That is what makes you truly powerful." The crowd erupted in applause once again. It's time for Alex's true victory, not in the physical challenges, but in the challenge of proving his inner strength. As Alex made his way back to Serafina, he realized something important. His journey on Serafia wasn't just about his beard or the trial. It was about understanding that true strength came from within, not just from the body, but from the heart and mind. And that was something that no one could take away. Seraphine's faith in him had been well placed. She had seen something in him that he had not seen in himself. And as they walked off the arena together, Alex felt a deep sense of pride, not for the victory he had earned, but for the lessons he had learned. The weeks following the trial of strength were a blur for Alex. The people of Serafia had begun to see him in a new light. He was no longer just a human diplomat. He had become a symbol of endurance, resilience, and strength of spirit. Alex had never imagined that his journey would lead him to such a place, and the more time he spent on Serafia, the more complicated everything became. Serafina, the queen, had been his constant companion during his stay. She had watched him grow from a simple envoy into someone who had earned the respect of her people. But there was something more in her eyes whenever she looked at him, something that went beyond admiration. Alex had felt it from the beginning, but he didn't want to acknowledge it. He was here for a mission, not to get involved in anything personal. Yet despite his best efforts to push away his feelings, they grew stronger every day. One evening, after another long day of talks, Alex found himself walking alone in the royal gardens. The flowers glowed softly under the twin moons, their petals gently swaying in the breeze. The air was cool and peaceful, and Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of calm wash over him as he walked through the serene landscape. But as he rounded a corner, he saw Serafina standing by a small pond, her back to him. Her long hair cascading down her back like a river of silver, she looked more beautiful than ever. And for a moment Alex just stood there, mesmerized by her presence. He had never met anyone like her before. Her grace, her intelligence, and her strength had always impressed him, but lately, it was something else that had caught his attention. It was the way she looked at him, the way she spoke to him, the way she made him feel like he was the only person in the room. Taking a deep breath, Alex approached her slowly. She turned when she heard his footsteps, and her face lit up when she saw him. "Alex," she said, her voice soft and welcoming. "I was hoping to see you." He smiled, though it felt a little nervous. "I couldn't sleep. The gardens are peaceful, so I thought I'd take a walk." Serafina stepped aside to make room for him by the pond. "I'm glad you came. Sometimes I come here to think. It helps clear my mind." Alex nodded, his eyes briefly flicking to the calm water. "I understand. It's peaceful here, almost like a different world." She smiled, and then, unexpectedly, her gaze softened. "You've changed everything for us, Alex. You've brought something to Serafia that we've never had before. Hope, a new perspective." Alex felt his heart skip a beat. "I didn't do anything special, I'm just doing my job," she said, shaking her head. "It's more than that. It's who you are. It's your strength, your character, and the way you carry yourself. ... It's different. You make me believe that things can be different." Alex could feel the weight of her words. "Serafina, I'm just a human. I'm not anything special." She turned to face him fully, her eyes locking onto his. "You are more special than you realize. You have no idea what your presence here means to me, to us." Her words left Alex speechless. He had known Serafina for a while now, but in that moment he realized that she wasn't just speaking as the queen. She was speaking as someone who had come to care for him deeply. Alex began, but his words faltered. He wasn't sure what to say. He hadn't expected this. He hadn't expected to feel the same way. Serafina stepped closer, her expression soft and open. "Alex, there's something I need to tell you. Ever since you arrived here, something has changed inside me. I've felt it for some time now, and I can't ignore it any longer." Alex's heart raced, and he took a step back, unsure of how to handle the sudden shift in their relationship. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," she replied gently. "But I want you to know that I care for you. It's more than I ever expected. I've never felt this way before. I've never let anyone close to me, not like this. But with you, everything feels different." Her words hit him like a wave. He'd always admired Serafina for her strength, but now Hearing her speak so openly, he realized that she had trusted him with her feelings. She had let him into a part of her heart that no one else had ever seen. And for a brief moment, Alex allowed himself to feel the same. He reached out, hesitating for a moment, before gently taking her hand. "Serafina, I didn't come here expecting any of this. I came to do a job, to make peace between our people. But I found something I wasn't looking for." Her eyes searched his face, waiting for him to continue. "I care about you too," he said quietly. "I've never met anyone like you. You've shown me a new world, a new way of thinking. And it's hard not to be drawn to you." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the soft rustling of the trees and the distant hum of the royal palace. Alex's heart was pounding, and he could feel the intensity of the moment. Serafina had confessed her feelings, and now it was his turn. "I don't know what the future holds," he said, his voice filled with uncertainty, "but I know I can't ignore what I feel. I want to be here with you and see where this takes us." Seraphine's face softened into a smile, her eyes sparkling with a mix of relief and joy. That's all I needed to hear. They stood there for a moment, the weight of their emotions settling between them. It was a moment of quiet understanding of two people from completely different worlds coming together. Alex knew that there would be challenges ahead. They were from different species, from different worlds. But in that moment, all of that faded away. What mattered was that they had found something rare, something worth fighting for. As the evening grew darker, Serafina took a step closer to Alex, her hand still in his. "Come with me," she said, leading him through the gardens.
"Let's
walk together." Alex nodded, feeling a sense of calm settle over him. This was the beginning of something new, something he hadn't expected but couldn't deny. And for the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to believe in the possibility of something more. Life on Seraphia had taken a turn that Alex never anticipated. The days were no longer just filled with diplomatic meetings and political talks. They had turned into something deeper, more personal. His relationship with Serafina had become the core of his time on the planet. He had always admired her from a distance, but now, standing by her side, Alex realized just how much he had come to care for her. Yet, despite the quiet peace that had settled between them, there was an undeniable tension in the air. The Seraphine court, once so welcoming and respectful, had started to grow uneasy. Whispers filled the halls of the palace, and Alex could feel the eyes of the Seraphine people on him. It wasn't just his presence as a human that bothered them, it was the closeness he shared with their queen. Serafina had always been a strong leader, respected for her wisdom and strength. But now, some of her closest advisors were beginning to question her judgment. They saw the growing bond between her and Alex as a threat to their traditions, their culture, and their power. Alex had always known that his presence on Seraphia was a delicate situation, but he hadn't realized how deeply it had affected the balance of power in the empire. Seraphine's decision to trust him, to bring him into her inner circle, had stirred up old fears in her court. Some saw it as a sign of weakness, a betrayal of their traditions. Others were worried that Alex's influence over her would lead to decisions that could weaken the empire's power. The queen had called Alex to her private chambers late one evening, her expression serious as she gestured for him to sit beside her. She had been troubled for days, and Alex knew something was wrong. "Alex," she began, her voice soft but filled with tension. "There are whispers in the court. Some of my advisors are growing concerned about our relationship. They believe that your presence here may be beginning my position as queen." Alex's heart sank. He had known that some would be uncomfortable with his presence, but he hadn't realized it had gotten this far. "What are they saying?" he asked quietly, his mind racing. "They are questioning my judgment. They fear that my trust in you will lead to a loss of control over the Seraphian people. They see your influence over me as a threat," she explained. Her eyes filled with a mix of frustration and sadness. Alex felt a pang of guilt. He had never intended to cause any problems. His only goal was to help bring peace and understanding between their two worlds. But now, it seemed like his very presence had put that in jeopardy. "I never meant to cause trouble, Serafina," Alex said, his voice low. I came here to help, not to take your place or weaken your position. I'm just trying to do what's best for both our people. Serafina placed a hand on his, her grip gentle but firm. I know, Alex, I know. But the people around me are not as understanding as I am. They do not see you the way I do. They see you as an outsider. A human who has no place in our world, Alex sighed, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on him. So, what do we do now? Seraphine's gaze hardened as she stood up, walking toward the window. The twin moons were high in the sky, their light casting a soft glow across the city below. I must make a choice, Alex. I have always prided myself on making decisions that are best for my people. But now it feels like I must choose between my duty as queen and my feelings for you. Alex stood up, his heart aching. He knew what this meant. He had seen this before in human politics, when loyalty to one's people clashed with personal desires. But Serafina was no ordinary queen, and this was no ordinary situation. The fate of Seraphia and Earth seemed to rest in the balance of this decision, Serafina, Alex said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. You don't have to choose. You can do both. You can lead your people and still be with me. I'm not asking you to give up your throne or your people. I just want to be a part of your world. She turned to face him, her eyes filled with uncertainty. But can I truly do both, Alex? Can I maintain my role as queen while also being true to my heart? Alex walked toward her, his steps slow but determined. I believe you can. You're stronger than anyone I've ever met. And I believe that together we can find a way to prove that human and Seraphian interests can coexist. Serafina looked at him for a long moment, her expression softening. You truly believe that? I do, Alex said with confidence. We can show them that our bond doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger. You're not just a queen, you're a leader. And a leader knows when to adapt, when to listen, and when to stand firm. If you trust me, I'll stand by your side every step of the way. Seraphine's gaze softened as she walked toward him, her face filled with a mix of gratitude and sadness. I never expected this to be easy, Alex, but I have trusted you from the beginning. I will trust you now. She reached up to gently touch his cheek, her fingers brushing the edges of his beard. Your strength, your spirit, it has shown me what I truly believe in, and I cannot let that go. Alex smiled, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. Then we'll face this together. We'll prove that our people are stronger when they unite, not when they divide. The two stood there for a moment, their hands entwined, the bond between them stronger than ever. Seraphine's decision would not be easy. There would be opposition, challenges, and struggles ahead. But in that moment, Alex knew that together they could overcome anything. Days turned into weeks, and the political climate on Seraphia continued to grow tense. Seraphine's decision to trust Alex and her growing feelings for him had set off a storm within the palace walls. Her closest advisors were beginning to turn against her, questioning her leadership. They feared that her bond with a human, a species they had once viewed as inferior, would weaken the Seraphian Empire. Alex felt the weight of their disapproval every time he walked through the halls, though Serafina had tried her best to shield him from it. The queen's inner circle was divided. Some were loyal to her and believed that Alex could help their people grow stronger by fostering a relationship with Earth. Others saw him as a symbol of weakness, a reminder that Seraphia was no longer the dominant power in the galaxy. The debate reached its boiling point one night when a group of high-ranking officials came to Serafina with an ultimatum. They had gathered in the Grand Council chamber, stone walls heavy with the history of the Seraphian Empire. The air was thick with tension, and Alex could feel the hostile stares of the council members as they turned their attention to him. Serafina stood at the front of the room, her posture rigid, her face betraying nothing of the inner turmoil she was feeling. You've heard the concerns of our people, Your Majesty? One of the counselors said, his voice cold and firm. Alliance with Earth is a threat to our culture, our strength, and our sovereignty. And this human, this man, has no place among us. Alex stood tall, though every part of him wanted to shrink back from the harsh words. He knew this wasn't Just about him, it was about Serafina, her leadership, and the future of Seraphia. The decision that lay before them wasn't easy, but he couldn't help but feel that he was the cause of this division. "You cannot expect me to choose between my people and someone who has proven his worth," Serafina said, her voice steady, but filled with determination. "Alex is not just some outsider. He has earned his place here, and the bond we share is not one that can be broken by fear or tradition." The room fell silent. The counselors exchanged glances, their expressions hardening. "We understand your feelings, Your Majesty," another counselor said, "but there is no place for a human in our future. We must remain strong and united, and that means returning to our ways. Our strength lies in our own kind." Seraphine's eyes narrowed. "Our strength lies in our unity. If we close ourselves off from the rest of the galaxy, we risk isolation. We risk stagnation. I will not let fear dictate our future." The counselors began to speak over each other, arguing their points, growing louder with each passing moment. Alex could see that this was a battle Serafina was losing. Her people were afraid of change, afraid of the unknown. But what they didn't see was the potential for growth, for a stronger, united galaxy. They couldn't see beyond their own fears. Alex stepped forward, his voice cutting through the chaos. "I understand your concerns," he said, addressing the council. "I am not here to take over your world, to change your traditions. I'm here to help build something better, something that benefits both our people. If that means challenging old ways, then I'm willing to do it. But you have to understand, we are not enemies. We can work together. We can grow together." A moment, there was silence. The counselors exchanged uncertain glances. It was clear they were not used to hearing a human speak with such confidence, such belief in a future where their species could coexist. Serafina stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. "I will not bow to fear," she said, her voice fierce. "Alex has shown me what true strength is. It is not in isolating ourselves from the rest of the galaxy. It is in learning and adapting and in building bonds that will make us stronger. I have made my choice." The tension in the room was palpable as Serafina looked around the chamber. The council members remained silent, their faces unreadable. But in the end, Serafina knew that her choice would have consequences. It was a decision that would change everything for, say, RAPHIA. As the meeting came to a close, Serafina turned to Alex, her eyes filled with both resolve and uncertainty. "I've made my decision, Alex," she said quietly. "I will stand by you. I will not let them tear us apart. But there will be a price for this." Alex nodded, his heart heavy with the weight of what was to come. "I'm with you, Serafina, whatever the cost." That night, the two of them stood together on the balcony of the palace, looking out over the vast city below. The twin moons hung high in the sky, casting their pale light over the Seraphian capital. The streets were quiet, the city peaceful, but Alex knew that a storm was coming. The council's opposition would not be so easily overcome. There would be those who would challenge Seraphine's decision, those who would fight to maintain the status quo. But Alex also knew that Serafina was strong. She had proven that time and time again. And now, more than ever, he believed and believed that together they could lead Seraphia into a new future. A future where their people could thrive, not in isolation, but in unity with the rest of the galaxy. "We'll make it through this," Alex said, his voice steady. "We're stronger together." Serafina turned to him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You've always believed in me, Alex, even when I couldn't see it myself. And now we will build something that will last." Alex smiled, feeling a sense of peace settle over him. It wasn't going to be easy, but he knew that with Serafina by his side, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. And as the night stretched on, they stood together, ready to face the future, whatever it may bring.